Imagine sitting on a lottery ticket that's worth $30 billion
Right.
and then having to admit under oath that you paid absolutely $0 for it.
Literally not a single dime.
Yeah. I mean, that is the kind of profound, just jaw-dropping contradiction that really kicked off the week of May 4th, 2026.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, if you're watching the news, your eyes were probably glued to that, billionaire soap opera playing out in an Oakland federal courthouse.
Hard to look away from, honestly.
But while the media was completely obsessing over the courtroom drama, the actual architecture of the AI industry, the foundation of the tools you use for work every single day, was quietly and honestly, ruthlessly being rewired.
Yeah, it was essentially a masterclass in misdirection. Because what happened on that witness stand was basically a distraction from an absolute earthquake that was occurring in the global financial markets.
Exactly. So welcome to the deep dive. Today we are pulling from Aaron Rose's Tech Reader AI Digest, which covers these massive shifts between May 4th and May 8th.
A really wild 5 days.
Truly. And our mission for you today is to cut through all that courtroom noise. We're going to unpack how legal revelations, massive hedge fund pivots, and this survival strategy that analysts are calling exascale diplomacy, how all of that permanently reshaped your daily technology.
And we really have to start with that Oakland courtroom.
Yeah. Okay, let's unpack this because the sheer scale of the founder dispute just sets the stage for everything else.
Yeah.
So Monday and Tuesday, Greg Brockman takes the stand.
Right.
And he has to defend his $30 billion stake in OpenAI, which, again, he acquired without putting a single dime of his own money into the initial investment.
Which is, that's difficult enough to defend on its own. But the plaintiff's attorneys, they actually came armed with Brockman's own personal journal.
Oh, man, the journal.
Yeah. They entered this specific entry into evidence where Brockman referred to the company's foundational nonprofit commitment as, quote, a lie.
Wow.
And that single phrase threatens to completely dismantle the entire philanthropic origin story of the whole organization.
And Elon Musk's lawyers were just relentless on this point. I mean, the source notes detail how they asked Brockman 12 different variations of the exact same question.
It's hammering it.
Right.
Yeah.
They kept asking, it takes $30 billion to get you out of bed in the morning, but $1 billion doesn't.
And his defense was what?
It was just this really weak, that's not what I'm saying.
Yikes. Yeah, not great.
No. But the hostility went way beyond just courtroom tactics. Because just 2 days prior, Brockman had reached out to Musk via text to kind of gauge whether they could drop claims against individual executives and settle.
Right, trying to de-escalate.
Exactly. But Musk's reply was entered into the public record. He wrote, "By the end of this week, you and Sam will be the most hated men in America."
That text is so revealing because it really highlights that Musk's objective wasn't just about financial restitution.
It was personal.
Very personal. It was about the total destruction of his rival's public credibility. And when you look at the core of Musk's alleged demands, the real stakes become super clear. Brockman testified that Musk didn't just want a payout. He demanded $80 billion and absolute unchecked control of OpenAI.
Which Brockman dubbed the Mars motivator.
Right, the Mars motivator.
Yeah, because Musk explicitly stated he needed that majority authority over the world's leading AI lab, specifically so he could fund a city on Mars.
It's just wild.
He saw artificial general intelligence not as like a software product, but as a sovereign-level resource, a planetary financial engine.
What's fascinating here is how that completely reframes that infamous August 2017 meeting.
Oh, the painted portrait incident.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so according to the testimony, the founders sit down in 2017, and Ilya Sutskever actually paints a portrait of a Tesla. He gives it to Musk as like a peace offering.
A literal olive branch, yeah.
Right. But the meeting just devolves into this screaming match over equity. Musk yells, "I decline," stands up so aggressively that Brockman literally braces himself for a physical assault.
Oh.
And then Musk just grabs the painted portrait and storms out.
See, the visual of a billionaire storming off with a painting, it sounds like some kind of petty domestic drama.
It's like fighting over the good silverware in a messy divorce.
Exactly. But in this case, the silverware is the foundational technology of human intelligence.
Right.
And if we connect this to the underlying mechanisms at play, they aren't just fighting over a company asset. They are battling over the launch codes for a totally new economic reality.
And beneath recounting that dramatic story, Brockman was actually executing this brutal, calculated legal strike.
Yes, the counter-accusation.
He dropped this massive counter-accusation on the stand. He claimed that while Musk was still sitting on the OpenAI board, Musk directed OpenAI employees to do secret, uncredited work on Tesla's self-driving technology.
Which is huge.
Because that would mean using non-profit, donor-funded resources to build your own private car company.
Precisely. I mean, in corporate law, that is a textbook fiduciary breach. Brockman's legal team was cornering Musk, effectively arguing, look, you have no standing to sue us for abandoning our nonprofit mission because you were the first one to exploit those nonprofit resources for personal profit.
So the founders are throwing these massive, legal haymakers at each other. But then on Wednesday and Thursday, the trial shifts.
The narrative totally changes.
Yeah. The executive stepped down, and this whole parade of third-party witnesses takes the stand.
Yeah.
And this is where the closed ecosystem of the courtroom started producing facts that the tech industry simply could not spin.
And it really began with Mira Murati.
Right.
Her testimony is so critical, specifically because she had absolutely no financial stake in Musk winning this trial.
She's just a neutral observer.
She is a completely neutral observer in this context. And under oath, she described Sam Altman as creating chaos. But more importantly, she testified that Altman actively misled her about safety protocol clearances on an unreleased model.
And legal analysts who were, analyzing the trial transcripts, they coined a term for this. They're calling it the candidness gap.
The candidness gap.
Right. And I really want to pause on this for anyone listening who remembers that wild week back in November 2023 when the OpenAI board fired Altman.
Oh, yeah. Everyone remembers that.
The public statement they released was incredibly vague. They just said he was not consistently candid with the board.
Right.
And for 3 years, everyone assumed that was just corporate PR speak for, a personality clash.
But Murati's testimony provides the bridge here. The candidness gap connects that vague PR statement directly to documented systemic executive deception regarding safety.
And Murati wasn't alone.
Yeah.
You had Rosie Campbell testifying that her AGI readiness team, the people tasked with figuring out how to handle actual superintelligence.
It's the most important job.
Yeah. That team was quietly disbanded in early 2024, right alongside the super alignment team. Think about that for a second if you use ChatGPT daily. The teams designing the brakes were being fired right as the company was putting a massive new engine in the car.
And the documentary record that's being established by these independent witnesses, that is what changes the historical narrative.
Totally.
I mean, Taish McCauley revealed the existence of the Sutskever dossier.
Oh, that was wild.
Dozens of pages of executive dysfunction meticulously compiled by Ilya Sutskever. She confirmed the board wasn't even informed before ChatGPT was unleashed on the public.
Unbelievable.
And then David Scheiser testified that Microsoft was allowed to test a version of GPT-4 by completely bypassing OpenAI's internal safety reviews, which, directly echoes the warnings from the 2018 Scott memo.
So wait, I have to ask about the broader implication here.
Yeah.
Because for years, the media, the tech community, they all dismissed that 2023 boardroom firing as just a failed coup by a handful of rogue directors who panicked.
Right, that was the accepted story.
But hearing this evidence, are we seeing proof that the firing was actually a carefully documented case built by a governance body over several months? Did the entire tech press just get spun by a masterful PR campaign?
I mean, the sworn testimony strongly points to yes.
Wow.
The Oakland courtroom didn't just expose a squabble, it exposed a systemic pattern of dismantled safety guardrails. We're seeing a verified timeline where teams dedicated to AGI alignment were systematically dissolved so that safety protocols could be bypassed for rapid deployment.
Just to get things out the door faster.
Exactly. And this public dossier, it alters how historians will view the company's commitment to safety, sure, but more urgently, it completely changes how Wall Street due diligence teams will assess risk going forward.
Which perfectly brings us to the massive financial moves that were happening simultaneously. Because as this whole governance collapse was being laid bare in court, Wall Street didn't freeze.
Not at all.
The financial engines just shifted their strategy. So, Anthropic launches an enterprise joint venture with Blackstone, Goldman Sachs, and Hellman & Friedman, valued at $1.5 billion, specifically to build Wall Street AI agents.
Massive move.
Huge. They immediately start releasing pre-built templates for things like KYC screening. And for anyone outside of finance, KYC stands for Know Your Customer.
It's a huge pain point.
Yeah, it's this incredibly tedious, legally mandated anti-money laundering background check process that banks spend billions of human hours on every single year.
Right.
Automating that is a massive margin unlock. And within hours of Anthropic's announcement, Bloomberg reports OpenAI is copycatting the exact same strategy. spinning up the deployment company at a $10 billion valuation.
And what we are witnessing here is the rapid institutionalization of the forward-deployed engineering model.
Now, I want to push back on that term a bit because traditionally, software companies scale by writing a piece of code once and selling licenses to millions of people, right?
That's the classic SaaS model, yeah.
Right. Like Microsoft doesn't send an engineer to your house to install Word. So forward-deployed engineering sounds incredibly labor-intensive. How is that a winning model for an AI company?
Well, it's a winning model because off the shelf, AI has sort of plateaued in its usefulness for massive corporations.
Yeah.
Forward-deployed engineering means sending a team of elite AI engineers directly into a client's business to integrate foundational models with the client's proprietary, highly secure, unscrapable data.
So they're building it inside the house.
Yes. You aren't just selling them a chatbot. You are custom building an intelligence layer into their specific supply chain or their financial modeling.
So the AI companies get access to the rich, private data they need to train better models, and the clients get this bespoke system.
Exactly. It's a win-win. And if you want to understand the economics of this, just look at Palantir's earnings report from that exact same week.
Oh, their numbers are crazy.
Insane. They posted $1.63 billion in revenue with 85% year-over-year growth. Their net income hit $870 million.
Wow.
But the metric that really proves the model is this. Palantir is generating $1.5 million in revenue per employee.
Per employee.
Yeah. Because when you embed engineers to solve billion-dollar operational bottlenecks, you can charge premium enterprise rates. That is the enterprise dominance that both Anthropic and OpenAI are suddenly chasing.
But the pursuit of that dominance, it requires a staggering amount of computing power.
Oh, a massive amount.
Which leads us to the ultimate irony of the week. Anthropic signs an agreement with SpaceX to secure all the compute capacity at Colossus 1 in Memphis.
Right.
We are talking about 300 megawatts of power and 220,000 GPUs. Now, the irony is just months prior, Elon Musk had publicly insulted Anthropic, calling them misanthropic.
Very publicly.
Right. But when the deal is signed, Musk suddenly tweets, "No one set off my evil detector."
A total change of tune.
And he confirms that his own AI company, xAI, is dissolving to rebrand as SpaceX AI, the complete 180.
It is, and analysts have appropriately named this survival mechanism exascale diplomacy.
It honestly reminds me of two warring nations who absolutely despise each other, but suddenly realize they share the only remaining reservoir of drinking water on the continent. Like, the sheer thirst for computing power just forces a truce.
That is the perfect way to look at it. The sheer scale of infrastructure required to compete at the frontier of AI is so massive that it overrides every other consideration.
Yeah.
SpaceX desperately needed a marquee AI customer to legitimize its upcoming IPO and justify its massive data center build-out.
And Anthropic desperately needed computing power to double the rate limits on their Claude Code models.
Right. Pure business logic and compute scarcity completely overrode a bitter personal rivalry. Exascale diplomacy means you partner with your enemy because the alternative is basically running out of compute and dying.
So we have billionaires fighting over governance and massive deals being struck to secure data centers. But how does this exascale diplomacy actually reach the listener? Like, how does it land on your desk?
Right. What does it mean for you?
Exactly. Well, Friday gave us the answer, because Friday was the day the AI infrastructure war actually arrived at the knowledge workers' keyboard.
It did.
Claude officially entered Microsoft 365. Add-ins went generally available for Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, with Outlook entering public beta. But the killer feature wasn't just that a chatbot was sitting in the sidebar. It was this new technical achievement called cross-app context continuity.
Which is a fundamental leap in how humans and computers interact. I mean, historically, AI has suffered from amnesia every single time you switch software applications.
Right. If you're working right now, think about your workflow. You prompt an AI to analyze data in a spreadsheet. Then you copy that text, you open your presentation software, paste it in, and write a new prompt asking it to turn that text into a slide.
It's very manual.
But with cross-app context continuity, it is one fluid session. The AI maintains your cognitive state across 4 different software architectures. You ask it to analyze financial data in Excel, And without reprompting, it inherently knows how to format that analysis into the specific PowerPoint deck you have open on your other monitor.
The engineering hurdle to achieve that is immense.
I can imagine.
It requires the AI to hold your intent in a persistent memory buffer while translating unstructured text into structured data arrays and then into visual narrative, all in real time.
And the market data showed that Microsoft was reaping the rewards of this. I mean, they released an incredible earnings report that week.
Huge numbers.
Their AI business hit a $37 billion annual run rate, which is up 123% year over year. They boasted 20 million paid Copilot seats. They even integrated the Claude Opus 4.7 model directly into their Copilot Cowork mobile app.
Meaning the AI remembers what you were doing on your desktop when you pull out your phone on the train.
Exactly. Microsoft's software integration is just crushing it. Yet on that exact same Friday, the market saw something completely counterintuitive.
The big sell-off.
Yeah. Major hedge funds, including TCI Fund Management, which is led by Sir Christopher Hohn, who has been a Microsoft bull for 9 years, they liquidated nearly $8 billion in Microsoft stock.
Wow.
They dropped their position from 10% to 1%. Duquesne and Tiger Global did the exact same thing. They just dumped Microsoft. And where did they put that capital? They pivoted and bought Alphabet. Here is where it gets really interesting. Copilot's crushing it, and Microsoft is hosting Claude. Why on earth are mega hedge funds dumping Microsoft stock to buy Alphabet on the exact same day?
This raises an important question, and this is where we see Wall Street reacting to the fragility of software monopolies.
Okay.
The hedge funds are executing a strategy based on vertical extraction.
Now, I understand vertical integration like Apple making the iPhone and also designing the silicon chip inside it, but extraction sounds much more aggressive. Are they essentially taxing the rest of the industry?
That is the extraction part, yeah, and it really comes down to margin stacking.
Okay, unpack that.
Microsoft's core vulnerability is that they don't own the underlying hardware stack to the extent they need to. They have to pay astronomical margins to companies like NVIDIA for chips, and they are increasingly reliant on renting third-party models like Claude to satisfy their enterprise customers.
Right.
Every single layer of that process squeezes Microsoft's profit margin.
Okay, so contrast that with Alphabet.
Well, on Thursday of that week, Anthropic committed $200 billion to Google Cloud over 5 years.
$200 billion.
Let's put that in perspective.
Yeah.
That single contract represents more than 40% of Google Cloud's total revenue backlog.
That's insane.
Contracts involving just Anthropic and OpenAI now make up over 50% of the entire $2 trillion backlog across all major cloud providers, so AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud.
Wait, 2 companies account for $1 trillion in cloud computing demand?
Yes.
That is staggering.
It is. But Alphabet has achieved vertical extraction. They design their own custom silicon, the TPU, so they don't pay NVIDIA's 75% margin. They own the massive data centers those chips live in. And they own a massive investor stake in the AI companies themselves, like Anthropic.
Yeah.
When you own the chips, the physical cloud infrastructure, and a piece of the model developer, you capture the profit margin at every single layer of the compute stack. The marginal cost of computing power for Alphabet drops closer and closer to zero, which allows them to extract maximum value from the market.
And Sir Christopher Hahn explicitly cited AI disruption to the Office productivity franchise as his reason for selling Microsoft. The knowledge worker AI race finally has a second horse.
Exactly.
By integrating Claude into Microsoft 365, Microsoft basically proved that their legacy monopoly on productivity software is no longer a protective moat. The hedge funds realized that if Alphabet owns the complete physical and vertical stack, Microsoft's position as merely the software host is incredibly vulnerable.
Very vulnerable.
And that economic reality drove Alphabet's market cap to $4.8 trillion, closing in on NVIDIA.
The shift from software promises to physical infrastructure is absolutely complete.
So we started the week with founders screaming at each other over a painted portrait of a car, and we ended it with global hedge funds restructuring the entire economy based on who actually owns the silicon chips.
It's been a week.
Let's summarize the sheer velocity of what we've covered today, because in just 5 days, we watched the forward-deployed engineering strategy become the unquestioned standard for enterprise AI. We saw exascale diplomacy force bitter rivals to share data centers. We witnessed the daily productivity tools you open on your laptop every morning leap forward with cross-app continuity.
Yeah.
And we saw Wall Street pivot billions of dollars toward the physical hardware of vertical extraction, all while the general public was basically distracted by the drama of an Oakland courtroom.
But we cannot dismiss the documentary record that the courtroom left behind.
Very true.
Because while the tech world was busy building infrastructure, the legal system was busy documenting intent. And that leaves us with a really critical realization. We just discussed how exascale diplomacy and pure business logic are overriding deep personal hatreds simply to secure computing power.
Right.
But what happens when global government regulators read that newly public dossier?
Oh, right, the candidness gap, the dismantled safety teams.
Exactly. I mean, if a federal court just handed the world a sworn blueprint showing exactly how AI safety protocols were systematically bypassed for profit, the underlying foundation of this entire industry is at massive risk.
Yeah, that's a huge vulnerability.
You can build the most perfect, vertically extracted tech monopoly in the world, but if the foundational documents show you ignored every safety rail to get there, is the vertical extraction strategy we just analyzed actually a ticking regulatory time bomb waiting to detonate?
Man, that is the trillion-dollar question.
It really is.
So the financial markets are currently betting that the physical infrastructure is bulletproof. But the muddy waters of that courtroom might end up drowning the very companies that thought they could just, ignore the trial and keep building.
Really.
It's a powerful reminder that in the race to build a future, the architecture of how you build it matters just as much as the technology itself. Keep questioning the tools you use, and keep exploring the infrastructure beneath them. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.